All right. We got EA tells investors thoughtful in-game ads are being considered, comma, goes poorly. Ooh, let me see. Do I want ads in my game?
Electronic Arts just cannot help being Electronic Arts.
True.
CEO Andrew Wilson is toying with new
Electronic farts.
revenue avenues, and he's thinking about bringing back in-game ads, expanding them based on what he said to an investor when asked about the possibility of ads becoming a bigger part of some kind of monetization system for video games. So right here, Insider Gaming reports that Electronic Arts is toying with the idea of ads in games again. Yes, they've done this in the past, as I'll bring up later on. But for those wondering where this comes from, this is from EA's latest earnings call, where there's a segment in which
I have no idea about anything business. Thank God the earnings call is like public, because I guarantee you this entire earnings call has the softest of soft language encrusted into it. Whereas if they were to do this entire earnings call like in private, it would probably be a little bit simpler to read and understand.
CEO Andrew Wilson answered questions. So here's a question from Eric James Sheridan from Goldman Sachs Group, who asked about the market opportunity for more dynamic ad insertion across more traditional AAA games across different.
Oh, well, let's look at the current state of AAA games. It's in the garbage. It's a flaming garbage heap of trash. People's, what do you call it? People's faith in AAA games is so destroyed right now. I would say if you like games, look at indie games, look at AA games, look at just anything that is not AAA. AAA games are bad.
Different formats, and how you think that might be revenue opportunity over the medium to long term. Remember, for corporations, the real customers are the investors. They want to keep investors happy more than anything, because investors are the ones who fund these companies on a mass scale, and investors in return want to see that investment grow, and so growth becomes the primary driving factor of any.
This is like a triangle of shit. You have the investors that give the people the money to make the game, and then the guys that make the game have to make the game for the consumers, but the consumers have to like the game in the first place to be worth a damn in the first place. And then when the consumers buy the game, that helps the devs and it helps the investors. It just so happens in recent history, the last couple years, a lot of AAA games are just bad.
Company. It's not about creative integrity. It's not about pushing the medium forward. It's about growth that is unsustainable on so many levels, especially with this idea that you can grow infinitely, which is just not possible. Eventually, growth will plateau. And so to seek new ways to grow, they're going to seek new ways to attain revenue. And they're thinking, hey, we've maximized all of these elements. What about in-game ads? Can we add that, layer that on top for more growth encouragement? And here's what Andrew Wilson.
How about like make a good game first, build up the trust or reestablish the trust that any AAA game developer has lost. Make a good game first, make some merch second, and then if you think a game is good enough, buy like a shirt or something for it. Buy like a cosmetic or something. Why do I need to see a Coca-Cola ad in my fucking game?
Had to say. To answer your question on advertising broadly, again, I think it's still early on that front, and we have looked over the course of our history to be very thoughtful about advertising in the context of our play experiences. But again, as we think,
bro, if any AAA game is going to be like set in the future, like cyberpunk status or anything like that, you can damn well bet that your eyes are going to be bleeding from all the Tide Pod, Coca-Cola, Chevy, and even more hilarious, there'd probably be a difference in terms of like country, because in America it's very popular to see like pharmaceutical ads on TV. So if I play a game, am I gonna see like pharmaceutical ads for like Ozempic or some bullshit in my American version of Call of Duty 2020 fucking 2050? Whereas if I look at like a different country's version of Call of Duty 2050, is there going to be, are the ads going to be relevant to that country? Because a lot of other countries don't allow like pharmaceutical ads, just as a whole. So what's up with that?
Think about the many, many billions of hours spent both playing, creating, watching, connecting, and where much of that engagement happens to be on the bounds of a traditional game experience. Our expectation is that advertising has an opportunity to be a meaningful driver of growth for us. In other words, this is not something that he's ruling out, and despite past backlash seen when companies like EA try to implement advertising in video games, he insists on continuing to make attempts, inchworming his way towards normalizing this monetization element.
And like, what kind of ads are we talking about? Like, if Red Dead Redemption 2019 comes out, am I gonna see like ads for like the NFA or the NRA, the National Rifle Association, with like their different versions of different guns or whatever? Like, think of all the industries, or think about like any sort of ad that you see at all ever. You have the gun industry, you have car industry, you have pharmaceutical industry, you have like household products. Am I gonna see like a Clorox commercial whenever I go to play like Dead Space 12?
He continues to be very thoughtful. Oh, I'm sure you will as we move into.
Yeah, think about all the food ads that you're gonna see. am I gonna be bombarded by like a Lucky Charms ad as I'm playing Assassin's Creed fucking like 69?
To that, but we have teams internally in the company right now looking at how do we do very thoughtful implementations inside of our game experiences. Inside of our game experiences is a key term there. That means in-game, meaning that the gameplay experience may potentially be interrupted, which we have seen be done in the past. And then Andrew Wilson says, but more importantly, as we start to build community and harness the power of community beyond the bounds of our games, how do we think about advertising as a growth driver in those types of experiences? Just the most corporate, just gag reflex inducing response. We've already seen companies experiment with various forms of advertising. So we've seen sort of on a higher level, consoles like Xbox straight up have pop-up ads advertising the release of certain games like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, which people already found pretty tasteless. They don't want to see pop-up ads when they boot up their console.
Well, it doesn't matter what you want to see. There's no option to disable pop-up ads, I would imagine. They don't care about what you want. They already know what you want. They know you want no ads.
Then there's situations like Street Fighter V back in 2018 when it included in-game advertisements in the form of these really kind of awful-looking emblems that
okay, so what are these? Like advertising shit for their own game? This probably could have been done better. This is like the most lazy version of like, what is this? What is happening? Pro Tour. This is like hilariously bad, lazy. I don't know what to say. This is tasteless. It's on his shoulder. It's on his other shoulder. It's on his shoulder, and it's on like his collar. It's on his pocket. Like, what lazy motherfucker did this? You probably could have just done this like stage specifically and just leave the characters alone. Like, just put a single little one in the center somewhere. It doesn't got to be big. It should just be like kind of regular size or whatever. And I think that would have been fine. All right. But this, it's like, this guy looks like a fucking domino or a dice with all the little dots on it, with how littered his body is with the fucking ad.
Advertise the Pro Tour And it's not something that the internet took particularly
Like, look at this. It's on his collar. It's on his shoulder. It's on his collar. It's on the bottom of his suit. It's on his hat.
well. I mean, there's straight up like clips and videos of this highlighting how ridiculous these kinds of advertisements
it's
look.
lazy.
Just kind of plaster all over on the
And look, it's even in the background, like just scrolling.
characters and also on the stage proper. As you can see in this screenshot, for example,
Why not just make an entire skin where it's just the logo littered? Like, there's no clothes, there's no skin, there's no hair. It's just the logo everywhere.
the emblem for the Pro Tour was plastered dead center on this stage alongside all over the characters. It did not look
Yeah.
particularly great, but perhaps more disruptive is the way NBA 2K did it. I actually covered this extensively years back when this first began to kind of spread across the internet as people spoke out about this. Recall that back in 2019, people expressed
Unskippable ad in a $60 game. Fuck you, 2K. Oh, wow. I had no idea this was a thing.
admonishment towards the fact that there were unskippable ads in what was then a $60 game. You can see right here an advertisement for Snowfall in the middle of a loading screen. And
Well, it's a sports player. Sports gamers are used to eating shit, so they probably would have thought this is normal. This is normal to them. Sports game players, they eat dicks. They eat dicks of salad all the time. They just do. They buy the same game every year, after year after year. This is normal to them.
because the ads were unskippable, even if the game and match finished loading, the loading screen would technically take longer than it should because the advertisement would play. The ad was unskippable. You had to finish watching the ad, even if the loading is finished. So that just kind of disrupted the experience. And then this got brought up once again in 2020 when this feature, quote unquote feature, returned. So here's a Polygon article saying unskippable advertising returns to NBA 2K, which made fans angry. And there's a video that this.
Well, here's the solve. Make unskippable ads in the sports game and then sell a premium version of the sports game where you can just not see the ads. And there's the easy solve for sports games.
This article embeds. You can see it right here. You can see how all this plays out as this user, this player, enters a match. But before that match begins, there's an advertisement that plays in a very
like, what the fuck is this? This is so bad. Like, who plays like this? Like, wiggling their torso. Like, that's so stupid. Are the wires even in? At least they had the good graces to plug the wires in. Like, at least.
disruptive manner, and you have to watch this ad all the way to the end before you can actually get in the match. And so this is just this. You can see right here, there was no continue prompt until the ad ended, especially in this era.
Yeah, that's pretty egregious. That's disgusting. Like, even if I was a sports game player, I'd be pissed.
Where SSDs are a thing and loading times are pretty much instantaneous.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to sit through 30 seconds, 20 seconds, whatever, watching an ad that they are not justified in including when we're talking about a game that you already pay $70 for. And EA itself is guilty of this. As Andrew Wilson said, they've already tried to experiment with this, and the backlash was bad enough back then that they actually had to pull back and remove the ads from the game. So EA tried to do...
Well, because the ads are so fucking obnoxious. It's right in your fucking face. I guarantee you, if you made them like way smaller and less intrusive, I would say it not to be better, but stop fucking up the gameplay loop experience and just putting an ad on 90% of the screen or making an unskippable ad. You know, for all these like sports games or whatever, put an ad on like a cardboard sign that someone's holding up. Oh, watch, somebody's holding a sign in the background that says Clorox, or watch The Boys, or eat a Tide Pod, or something, or some shit. Go buy a Chevy. You know, just put it on like a little poster in the background. It doesn't need to be on like front and center. And I guarantee you, in the case of UFC, They probably had ads on the fucking Octagon because it's like that in real life.
This with their UFC games. Right here we have an article from back.
Yeah, like look at this right here. You can see like the UFC. This is probably some ad for like some other company. I don't know, but yeah.
In 2020 from news outlet The Verge, reporting that EA had to apologize for putting full screen.
EA is not sorry for doing this. EA is sorry for getting called out doing this. All right.
In-game ads in UFC 4, and there's footage of this right here. You can see just...
Yeah, look at the mat. Look at the fucking mat. This is tasteful. Why? Because it's like this in real life and nobody is focusing on it. It's not the focus. It's in the background. All right? UFC 4, EA on the little pad. Reebok, UFC. Whatever the fuck this is. What is this? Under Armour? Something port to drink? I don't know. It's kind of like this in real life. Okay? So it's not too much of a stretch to think that, oh, just put some ads on the mat and it'll be fine. Or maybe like have somebody like throwing up a cardboard sign right here and with like a Reebok or Nike, whatever. But if you think about that Street Fighter situation and there's like a gigantic Reebok tattoo on, who is this, Nate Diaz? If just giant Reebok tattoo on Nate Diaz saying that like buy Reebok or whatever, or UFC tattoo on his shoulder, then yeah, it's kind of eye-catching, it's annoying, and why the hell is it there?
Straight up, how in the middle, right before a replay happens, there's a little pop-up ad that advertises The Boys, and it pops up again, and then beyond.
Yeah, The Boys. What is this? Toyo Tires, UFC 4, EA. Like, these ads are fine on the mat, on the little siding, because it's like that in real life. And have like the little ring girl have like what round, and maybe like on one side of the card it'll be like the round, and on the other side it'll be an ad. Oh, surprise. Or have like mess with the lighting back here and let people throw up some signs with some ads like back here. If you really want to do that, don't do that pop-up shit.
Beyond that, in the game itself, you'll see that an advertisement will pop up in the form of this banner where The Boys is advertised once more. This is not free to play, mind you. This is straight up something you paid a premium price for.
And you know what's funny? The Boys is actually fantastic. That's the only saving grace. If The Boys, imagine a world where The Boys is actually bad and there's all these ads in the game. Then it would be like hyper abysmal.
This is inexcusable, and they rightfully got the backlash that they got, and it was bad enough that they were eventually forced to backpedal on this. But based on Andrew Wilson's most recent statement where he said we experimented on this and we're trying to be thoughtful about this, when they say thoughtful, they're not talking about thoughtful towards the consumers. He's talking about thoughtful in terms of trying to sneak it in a way where they can kind of get away with it and slowly but surely make it worse year by year.
Yeah.
So that it becomes normalized, as they did with microtransactions, as they try to do with loot boxes and other monetization tactics. And keep in mind that the inclusion of ads within UFC was done after the game launched, after reviews came out, so reviewers couldn't talk about this or warn people about this, which made this all the more egregious.
EA decided to add full-on commercials in the middle of gameplay in a $60 game a month after its release, so it wasn't talked about in reviews. Wow. That is super slimy.
You can see how riled up people got. This post alone got over 100,000 upvotes discussing the fact that this was snuck into the game. That's what EA means by thoughtful implementation.
Slime
thoughtful
ball
to the company and to the investors.
Slime ball
future
EA.
Prospects for additional
Electronic farts.
monetization tactics, not thoughtful to the players. Because guess what? The only way to be thoughtful to players and consumers when it comes to in-game ads is to never include them at all. But that's not an option that EA is considering because it goes counter to their objective to please investors. And now word is beginning to spread about the fact that EA wants to put advertisement into video games that they've already paid for. They want to repeat history, and already we're seeing, tens of thousands of upvotes.
I mean, well, then gamers are just going to do the same thing that they did to EA or the UFC game. They're just going to fucking put up an ad or like a little post and call EA out again. It's gonna happen again.
Posts and tons of posts of people just,
You know how they say like some people learn the easy way and some people learn the hard way? EA is all about learning the hard way.
expressing their disagreement and their umbrage against this tactic. The fact that Andrew Wilson, he's even considering this in the first place. Here's one of the most upvoted responses that sarcastically states, "If I trust any company to be thoughtful and considerate as they put ads in video games, it's Electronic Arts." We're also seeing people across Reddit and Twitter making fun of how this could look like if EA decides to pull the trigger on going all in on in-game ads. So here's a mock-up of somebody playing Valorant, and
What? No, this is Apex. This is Apex, bro. Yeah, it says Apex right there. With the announcement that EA is considering ads in their AAA games, this is the first thing that came to mind. Oh yeah, there's this little like overhang board right there that like flashes like the Apex Legends game, but like what are they gonna put right there?
If you love shrimp like
Red Lobster. Oh my god. Oh, this is just this. You know, this visual clutter is just a drop in the fucking bucket when it comes to Apex. All right, this is the most. This is the least intrusive thing when it comes to visual clutter in Apex. All right, and you know what's funny? If you're probably on controller, you're probably still killing the guy through this visual clutter. All right, it's just it is what it is.
I love shrimp, Red Lobster's endless shrimp.
the mock-ups are kind of hilarious, not going to lie, but kind of grim considering that the possibility might exist. Now, obviously, this level of disruption is a little much, and I don't know if EA would lean into in-game ads this far, but then again,
Oh yeah, they would.
it's EA. You never know what corporations will do or how far they'll take things. Here we have another mock-up of somebody
Bro, imagine if the ads persisted through like the ALGS. That shit would be so funny. Oh my god.
playing Star Wars Jedi and about to enter a boss battle. And then the add in 3, 2, 1 countdown. And then,
Oh yeah.
yeah. And while this seems like an extreme example, the fact that it is potentially plausible ways in
Bro, this would be so funny if in that Star Wars game you had the guy with the blue lightsaber. What's that? Cal Kestis? You had him like talking to Jabba the Hutt, and all of a sudden an Ozempic fucking commercial comes up. It's like, are you feeling like you need to lose some weight, bro? That would be so fucking good.
the future, if this becomes normalized enough, makes this kind of
Or like if you're going like on a scene for if you're playing a part in the game where there's like pod racing or like there's cars and shit, like a Pennzoil commercial comes up. Is your car running a little wonky? Try Pennzoil or some shit like that.
scary because people would hate an experience like this. And so we're seeing tweets like these spread far and wide. So this one, for example, 5.7 million views and over 108,000 likes already. Well, here's somebody else showing a similar mock-up of Star Wars Jedi in the middle of an epic moment or an epic cutscene. And then it's not long before the experience is interrupted by a Whopper ad or something.
Or you remember that scene in Star Wars where Chewbacca was about to eat that little like he killed one of those little like tiny cute animals, and then the other animal was like looking at it with big eyes. Imagine like that's like in the game, but then the Junior Whopper commercial comes on. Like the ad would just fit.
Along those lines. And then beyond that, in other sectors, it feels like EA has been saying the wrong thing or things that are very disconcerting. So, for example, in regards to generative AI, EA CEO said that they have a real hunger to start using generative AI as quickly as possible on their games, believing that more than 50% of their development processes will be positively impacted. Now, it's one thing to give artists powerful tools through AI that they can leverage so that they can make certain more tedious processes more expedient while still retaining the artistic integrity and human integrity of the artwork. But it's another thing to try to use AI to replace artists, and that's where the concern is, where corporations will want to automate art as much as possible so that they have to pay less people and make processes cheaper and less costly, but in turn also making them more soulless. And that's where people don't trust entities like EA and CEOs like Andrew Wilson.
Bro, the whole generative AI thing is 100% true, but some people can already not even tell the difference between certain AI images that have been generated, or like little AI clips that have been generated. So people can already start to not be able to tell the difference between what's real and what's AI. The moment AI starts to become more and more believable, that's going to be the real turning point, is when you can completely fool an entire player base of what is real and what is, or well, not what's real, but what is handcrafted and what is AI generated. When you can fool an entire fan base, that's where the money's at.
And to use AI in a way that actually is good for game development and for art. And then beyond.
Bro, are there going to be like games in the future where it's like, you know how food had like a couple years ago, you remember how food was trying to argue like have the GMO sticker on it? You know, GMO is like genetically modified organism. They were trying to have the GMO sticker on it. I feel like it's kind of the same way with like video games in the future. Like there's going to be like a sticker, like this game has AI generated shit in it, versus like this is a non AI generated game. It's got the thumbs up. It's like, you think there's going to be like buzzwords surrounding like handcrafted or AI generated? Like there'll be like a negative connotation with AI generated games, and like a positive connotation with fully handcrafted video games.
Beyond that, you've got the way Andrew Wilson has described the next Battlefield as a tremendous live service. Not a tremendous video game, a tremendous live service. A tremendous video game emphasizes fun. A tremendous live service emphasizes engagement and monetization.
True.
So you can see this exact quote being made fun of and mocked on the internet because people are already just kind of fed up with the way EA
That's the fucking best one, dude. X to doubt.
has handled their tremendous live services in the past, and are not looking forward to discovering what Andrew Wilson means by tremendous live service and the lack of emphasis on just a good video game. Though, of course, we haven't seen what the next Battlefield game looks like, and we are keeping our fingers crossed that it ends up being just a good video game first and foremost, and not just a tremendous live service that corporate executives and investors would be, frothing over. But yeah, whether it's about Battlefield or the use of AI or the intention to include in-game ads in the future, nothing Andrew Wilson is saying is giving me positive vibes about where he wants to take EA into the future. But I suppose only time will tell how things will play out and what kinds of projects we'll see from EA and what kinds of ventures they'll try to pursue and double down on, and which ones are worth admonishing. But until then, let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on what Andrew Wilson has had to say about these various aspects these last few weeks. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.
Dang. I can't imagine fucking video games with ads, dude. Like, where is my up thumb? Whatever, I up thumbed it, dude. Just got trust. See. Fucking like actual pop-up ads in video games, that's like horrible. That's just a joke, man. Like, and even just imagine the concept from like an indie game standpoint. No indie game would ever do that because they haven't built up the trust of the player base, or like just the sheer brand recognition that a lot of these AAA games have. I don't think indie games would ever do this, although it would probably be funny if they did. Yeah, I mean, that's the future of AAA games. Enjoy it with ads. It is what it is. I mean, I don't fucking agree with it. That shit's stupid, man. But I don't know. We'll see if any thoughtful ads will get put into any future AAA games. I hope not. But yeah, that's another banger from Yong, and I'm excited to see more. So yeah, that's pretty much it for me. I'll catch you guys on the next one. All right, later.